Hi, good day, grade seven. Um, as you would have remembered, based on the last time we met in class, that due to the impact of Hurricane Melissa, we have had to make some adjustments in completing this handout that we were looking at before the hurricane struck. Um, so because we have lost about between midterm and the hurricane about 4 weeks, we have had to move on to the new topic. However, we will be making this video so that we can cover the rest of the handout. All right. So I'm going to ask you at this point to get your handout, get your pens and or your pencils or your highlighters as we go through the handout. Whatever you see me highlight in gray on the handout, that's what I'm requiring you to highlight on your hard copy of the handout. If, well, at any point you can stop the video and ensure that you get the correct information and then you continue the video. So let's get started. So the first thing we are going to do is to share our screen so that you can see my soft copy of the handout and then you can follow on. Very good. There we go. Then you can follow on your handout as we go through. So this is the front page of the handout. Both 7B and 7A would have completed the front page. And by now, this first activity you should have written in your notebook uh, for me to collect at the next class. Second page, we would have started, but for the benefit of everyone, I think I want to start at the second page. I want to run through quickly. And so instead of reading through and then highlighting, what I'm going to do is to read through and highlight at the same time so that the video won't be very long for you and that you can do on your handout. So we are going to begin before. So we start with the social economic conditions of the inhabitants of Clarendon. Before 1962 and education, all the inhabitants of Lower Clarendon was very poor. Many of the inhabitants represent farmers or small farmers, and the main economic activity was agriculture. So you are going to underline all of this. So you underline all of that. All right, very good. The image below, I'm not sure how clearly image is on your hard copy, but from this video, you should get a clearer picture of what the image looks like. All right. So it's a lady doing gardening, like backyard gardening, small farming. All right. So let's continue. This peasant farming is similar to subsistence farming, where families plant crops mainly for domestic and household purposes. As a result of this, many of the people did not get any proper education or skill because they could not afford to send their children to school. So I'm going to underline this. I think we had done this already. I'm just rushing through this. We're going to stop there. So you will underline that section there. Then you're going to underline many of the people in people did not get a proper education or skill training because they could not afford to send their children to school. So remember, not only what you see me highlight is what you're to underline or highlight on your handout. The idea, continue the idea to establish a school on the Vera Plain came about as a result of the desire of a few persons to improve their educational standing in the area. One of these persons was Mr. R.J. Lowen. The school was conceived and developed to impart the vocational technical education, Jamaica. So you're going to underline the idea to establish a school on the Vera Plain came about as a on the Vera Plain came about as a result of the desire of a few persons to improve their education standing in the area. And one of these persons was Mr. R.J. Lowen. I see underline that. Then you're going to underline school was conceived and developed to improve vocational education. So basically, you underline all of that paragraph. How it all began? The Southern Plains of Coastal Plains of Beer is a noble institution created to provide skilled training to the poor in the area. Vatican High School was created under scope here now. Under the Bear Free School Trust, a vision of Mr. Rains Waite in 1694. Mr. Waite willed that his land, cattle, and slave should be sold to establish a trust and that its proceeds used to educate the poor children of Bear. So you got to underline the following now. In the southern coastal plains of Bear is a noble institution created to provide skilled training to the poor in the area. Underline that for me. Then you're going to underline the Technical High School was created under, be careful, so let's go, was created under the Very Free School Trust, a vision of Mr. Rains Waite in 1694. I'm going to underline that. I'm also going to underline Mr. Waite's will that his land, cattle, slave should be sold to establish a trust, the line there, trust, and you're going to underline proceed was used to educate the poor children of Bear. Underline that. Okay. Then you underline a free secondary school was established in Ali, which taught Latin religion and calculation. The school eventually failed. The line that they got to underline no further attempts was made for establishing so no further attempts for establishing secondary school, so no further attempts, where am I? Right, so no further attempts for leave out that. So we'll just have a calculation. Leave out that calculation. You're going to underline now. As time went by, the West Indian Sugar Company money was approaching trust with the idea of establishing a trade school to provide workers for the factory. Underline that sentence there. And you're going to underline it was a vision of the trust secretary and historian at the time, R.J.M. Lowen, on the 100th anniversary of the trust. All right, so let's underline that. Then you're going to underline the then custos and chairman of the trust. Impulse invited the trustee to collaborate with the idea of establishing a Bear Trust Secondary School with an agricultural bias. All right. We're coming back to that, and you're going to underline the land for the construction. Underline that was provided by the West Indian Sugar Company, which gave, underline all of that, 40 acres of land for its construction. All right, so let us go back here. So where you have now, all right, so let's continue. So during the construction, remember only what I underline is what you underline or highlight. During the construction, the trust came upon financial difficulties. They're going to underline the trust came upon financial difficulty, and so the minister financial difficulties, underline just that. Then you're going to underline the 1959 Ministry of Education in response to the call of the Trust for Financial Assistance. No, underline the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education of that made a substantial sum of money available to facilitate the completion of the buildings. There you go. They got under the Ministry of Education in the early 1960s took over the project, carried out further development, and broadened the scope of its offering. In September 1960, the ministry developed the school to offer technical and vocational education at the high school level and renamed it via Technical High School. Okay, now what you're going to do for me, all right, so right here now, you're going to add something for me right now. You would have done it before, but in the event that you're one of those persons who have not done it, this space right here, you're going to write the following for me. The first name for the technical high school was this was the name. VTHS Secondary School was VRU Trust, capital T, VTHS, SCCO, secondary CHO. All right, what you're going to write there. So remember now, based on what we read before, the ministry developed the school to offer technical high school. This is 1960, and it was renamed Technical High School. So just pick up from here now. So to pick up from here, take right here. So from here, let's underline Technical High School throughout its history has fostered world-class citizens. We have created trailblazers in the area of education, agriculture, athletics, football, and academy. You got that? Very good. So we're moving along. This says that the Soviet Technical continues to be written in the school as the school adapts to global changes with its core mandate of creating citizens that are critical and innovative in such an ever-changing and global environment. And when you have done all of that, you are supposed to do this reinforcement activity. So this is the crossword puzzle, which for 7B, you'd have already done this. At least most of you would have already done that and have mark that and return to you. Some of you handed me your paper. I will ensure that I get them marked for you for the next class. For 7B, you have not yet handed me your handout, so you should have, or if you have not yet done, you have time to complete it. And based on the instruction that you were given last class, I am collecting the handout for next week. So we move on to know what is that trust. The word trust, so remember now we are underlining. The word trust can mean different things based on the context in which it is used. But generally speaking, to trust someone is to believe that the person is honest and will not harm you. To trust someone to do something for you, it is because you believe that they will do it successfully or properly. If you do not trust, I just about properly. All right? So you underline from the word trust and you finish up stuff out properly. Good. If you do not trust someone or something, it is because you do not feel that it is safe or reliable. Let's go to the next paragraph. Let us continue. But there is, you're going to have right now another meaning for the word trust. Another meaning for the word trust, underline that. The from is a legal arrangement in which the property of one person or company is held or supervised, managed, or governed by another person or company for the benefit of the first person's beneficiaries. All right? Underline that. Now you're going to, you're going to underline that. So we're looking at who's a trustee. So the person or company who's looking after the other person's property is called a trustee. Underline that. And if you have a different color highlighter or pen, I'd recommend that you use a different color for this. The same here. Who is a beneficiary? Underline that. Who is a beneficiary? Use a different color here. A beneficiary is of a trust is an individual or group of individuals or company of whom the trust is created. And we look at what a trustee is. A trustee is an individual institution that is legally holding the property of someone else. So we look at that up here. So the person or company who is looking after the other person's property is called a trustee. All right. So we have here a person who holds legally. So we have that repeated twice. All right. So now that we have completed that, so we know what a trust is, we know what trustee is, and we know who is a beneficiary. So how did VIR get its name? Underline for me. The era got its name with the British capital Jamaica in 1655. Southern part of Canada was renamed VIR after the daughter of Sir Edward. Edward, Attorney General to King Charles II. King Charles. All right. Lady VIR was also wife of Sir Thomas Lynch, who was three-time governor of Jamaica and who first came to the island, Admiral Penn and General Benedict. Very good. So let's look at staffing now. In other words, what does the staff complement of those persons, of the persons who worked at the technical high school? So the establishment of the technical high school happened. So the technical high school was established in 1960. Underline that. Then use a different color. All right, and underline this section now. It did not start operation until January 11, 1961. So it was established in 1960. They didn't start operating the school until 1961. The principal was Samuel Benjamin. He was appointed. So the principal of Samuel Benjamin was appointed, and he took up duties on September 3, 1960. Okay, let's move along. So originally it had a staff population. Originally it had a staff population of 5 teachers, 2 administrative staff, and 5 ancillary staff. That was the staff population. All right. Underline that. By the time the batch of students started, underline that, attending school, teaching staff had increased to 10 teachers, 2 staff, administrative staff, and 7 ancillary staff members. So the total population of 19 staff in all. So you underline all of this. All right. Good. The next task that you're going to do for me now is this task. You don't pay this any mind. That's what this is the thing. All right, just focus on the handout. So you're going to do this true and false section here. So it starts here and continues on the next page. So to complete that on the handout, which I'll also be marking along with the puzzle. All right, for 9B, I'd already marked that for you. So all that is required of you now is to ensure that you pick up from here and we continue. 7B, 7A. For 7D, you have to complete this also for collection. So let's look at the first batch. Let's look at the first batch. And by the way, I won't be going through all of the handout. All right. For example, the last page, I won't bother with the last page. I'm going to ask you to read that on your own because I don't want to make this video too long. All right. So the first batch, 62 or 61 skill work. All right. So let's read through together. Owing to some technical difficulties with the water supply and facilities or sanitation, the intake of the first batch of 62 students was not officially open until the 11th of January 1961. So you're going to underline for me from here, the first batch of 62 students was not officially open until the 11th of January 1961. So the first batch consisted of 62 students, and this group earned the reputation of being called the 62 of 61 batch. All right, so that is important. That's a phrase that is important. The batch, the 62 of 61 batch, or the batch of the batch 62 of 61. All right. Now continue to underline. Of the 62 students, 33, underline that, 33 were boys and 29 were girls. Underline that. And the school consisted of a workshop, metal shop, a welding shop, a biology lab, and for both general science and biology. So let's look at the opening, the official opening now. So we said earlier that let's go, let's slide on. So we said earlier that the school, we had indicated earlier that the school was established in 1960. Right, the school was established in 1960, but it did not officially open until 1961. So we made mention of that earlier. All right, so let's look at the official opening. So it opened in 1961, but the official opening took place in 1962. So, no, that's not true. Let's go again. The school was established in 1960. The first batch of students started in 1961, and it was not officially open until 1962. So let us go again. Let's make sure we get that clear. School was established in 1960. The first batch of students did not start attending until 1961. That's how they earned their name of 62 or 61. Those students started attending in 1961, but the official opening of the school did not take place until 1962. So let's go now. January, March 28th. On March 28th, I'm so sorry. On March 28, 1962, VTHS High School was officially opened by Sir Kenneth Blackburn, then Governor General of Jamaica, and he was the first Governor General. The Jamaica Constabulary Band led Jamaica Constabulary Band on highlight up to there. Played at the ceremony, underline that, the tune Skippy, that brought joy for the audience at the ceremony. And up until recently, this tune was a favorite of the school family and used to be the official graduation marching song. So you underline, sorry, underline all of them. Okay. If you are a little confused at this stage, I'm going to ask you to stop the video right here and slide it back. Just slide it back a little bit so that you can see what we underlined before. Make sure you have the correct thing on your handout, and then we pick up from here. All right. Now, important persons at the ceremony included one, so I underline that, one, Reverend Reader, who was a member of the school board. That's Reverend Kenan Reader. Then you have Honorable. All right, listen up. So right here, the correct on this right here, we have aim palsy. So to correct that, and it's going to, you're going to write AIM. That's what you're going to write. But you're going to cut, you're going to correct this and write AIM. So it's honorable, the honorable AIM palsy was in the custos and chairman of the school. They're going to underline that. The VTHS, sorry, so you're going to underline that. All right. Second thing you underline, you're going to underline R.M.J. Lewin was secretary of the Via Free School Trust. Then you're going to underline Colonel Ben Francis, appointed the first principal of your technical high school. All right. Now, beside Colonel Francis, I want you to write this. All right. COLONEL is PRONOUN, pronounced KERN. Alright. So what I want you to do. Alright, so that is you're going to write it beside here. Okay. So the word COLONEL is not pronounced colonel. That's incorrect. It's pronounced the word kernel. Remember, this is not the spelling. KERNEL is not the spelling. The spelling is COLONEL, but it is pronounced kernel. All right. So so when you read it, you have to say Colonel, not Colonel. Colonel Ben Francis. All right. His current name is Benjamin Francis, but we call him Ben Francis for short. So we continue to highlight. Honorable Flosser Glasspool was then Minister of Education. All right, very good. And then you're going to underline Mr. C.C. Michelin, who was in the general manager of Monument Sugar Factory, and he gave the vote of them. So you underline that. All right, very good. Now you notice that as I move the screen up, the writing moved. Don't pay that in mind. So there are some important factors that you must bear in mind. It is important to note the following. Remember, right? You know, we had the Colonel, so that remember that Honorable Joseph Glasspool was then the Minister of Education. This was at the opening ceremony of the Technical High School. Later on the line this now, Mr. Joseph Glasspool later became the third Governor General since independence. All right, the line that, and he served as Governor General till 1991. So that's what you have to underline. Okay, and you are also going to underline Colonel Ben Francis is the longest serving principal at VTHS High School, 1961 to 93, totaling 32 years. Underline that. It's very important facts for you to underline. Then we come up here. So now, no. We're right here. The third one is all the sports houses at VTHS Technical High School, which you are part of, are named after someone who made tremendous contributions to development. All right, and the first one we are going to name Pawsey, is named after A.M. Pawsey. We already right, underline that. And the color of the house is yellow. You may be wondering why we didn't underline here. Chairman of the VFB School Trust. We had already underlined that. All right, that's why we didn't put the underline here. Also, so one of the houses is Pawsey, and the color is yellow. Another house at VTHS Technical High School is Lewin, which is named after R.J.M. Lewin, the line that, and underline the color is red. Underline that also. Let's continue. Then we have Francis, which is named after Colonel Ben Francis. Right, we have already established that he's the first and longest serving principal of VTech. And the color, underline that, and then the color is purple. So you underline that also. Finally, this one is important. First name that you're being introduced to the name. All right, and this name, the row. All right, got the spelling. It is D-R-O-U-X. It is not pronounced the rooks or the rock. It is French, and it is pronounced the roux. All right. And it is named after the row, that house, the house, the row, is named after Robert James the Row. And just to underline the others, he was Custos of Clarendon and a prominent businessman, right? And the other lines that, and then the column below. So notice now that of the four of them is the only one that we have named. We have underlined everything there. All right. And then down there's the logo, the school logo that you're familiar with, but do you know what the school or the symbolism of the school logo? This is also very important. All right, we'll soon be finished. This is also very important. So the school logo is made up of so underline this. The school logo is made up of a circular frame with the name Technical High School at the top and the year it was established at the bottom. All right. So let's move you over here. So there it is. So this is circular logo. And then you have the Very Technical High School right up here. That's the name of the school. And established 1960 is at the bottom. So at the top is the name of the school. And at the bottom of the circle is the year it is established. All right, let's continue. So let's close that note, underline that. Embedded in the circular frame is a shield. So inside the circular frame, so this is the circular frame around there. Inside of the frame is a shield. So embedded. So let us plan up. In the circular frame, the shield which is divided into 4 parts, and each part showing an open book, a lever, scientific test tube, and a vice grip. And each represents some area of the academic, scientific, or technical subject taught. All right. So this is what I want you to underline right here. Underline it right here. That is what you underline. The circular frame is a shield divided into 4 parts or 4 quadrants, and each part shows an open book. So we have the open book right here. Then we have the lever, which is this one right here. Then we have the scientific test tube, which is what is here. And then right at this one here, so we have the vice grip. All right. Next thing I want you to underline and stretch across the lower quadrant of the circular frame is the shield. Circular frame and the shield is a ribbon on which is found the motto of the school: discipline, knowledge, skills, and all right. So you should have all those underlined. Which takes us to the last thing that we are going to do. The rest of it I'm going to ask you to read. So for example, this section here, I wanted to read that I won't be going through. So the Olympians of the Technical High School, you're going to get this part in your exam. So I'm going to ask you to read it, read up on it. Don't waste any time to read up on this section. So don't waste any time to read from the Colonel Ben France. Don't waste any time to read. I'm not going to give anything on this, but you need to know this. There has 4 alumni association. So the alumni association based overseas. So you're going to write there are 4 chapters. So the alumni association, underline the alumni association, like a past student. And you're going to say that they underline that. They're going to like there are 4 chapters which support the school: Toronto chapter, the New York chapter, the Jamaica chapter, the Florida chapter. Underline those. All right. Now let's go back to here. This is what I need you. So the principals of Serbia Technical High School. All right, Benjamin Francis. All right, so number 1 is Benjamin Francis. Underline everything. Underline everything in that one. That's the first principal. This is the second principal. Underline everything there. This is the third principal. Underline everything there. But I want you to notice as you underline, I want you to notice those who are dead and those who are alive. because you made yourself an exam. So Benjamin Francis is tell me that he's dead. So Benjamin Francis is dead. The second principal, Elise Atkins Bryan, she's still alive. So I'm put it in black, in bold. Dr. Henrietta Stewart, the word is Henrietta. That's Dr. Henrietta Stewart. She's still alive. All right. Then we are the interim principal of the Technical High School. She serves as a 20 for science and currently is the principal of Four Parts Primary School. She's still alive. Wanted to underline that also. All right. And then we are the fifth principal, who is Antoinette Banton Ellis. She's now deceased, died in 2022. And then the last principal, or sixth principal, and still currently the principal is Major O'Neill Lowen. So he's still alive and he's still serving as principal of VTHS High School. All right. So you need to know that, need to know the ones who are dead, need to know the ones who are alive. Bear in mind that we have had 6 principals over the period. All right. And I just want you now to spend some time. Then you're going to do this activity right here. Right. So this is matching it. They're going to read the clue right here, and then they're going to match it with the correct answer on column. Column A is a clue, column B is where the answers are, and you match. All right. And then the last thing is you're going to read on your own Olympians of your technical. I want you to read upon that one. All right. Okay, grade 7, 7A, 7D, and whichever other grade 7s that may be viewing this video. Thank you for being a part of the process. Prepare for your exam. Your exam begins on the 4th of December. And I trust that it will help you. Remember, for your exam, just focus on the area that I have highlighted along with Olympians of VTHS. Okay? I wish you well in your activities on the handout. I hope that you will score high on those. And I wish you well as prepared for your exam. Take care now.